Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Slightly early, but we've been waiting too long over this Christmas, and you know, Christmas always brings up a bit of a Christmas turkey, doesn't it? And Liverpool will sign Virgil van Dijk for £75 million. Manchester United have also, well, Mourinho promised 6 potential new signings. We'll be talking about that, but we have to start with this Liverpool signing because it's ridiculous on so many levels and totally, utterly, in a funny way, justifies Mourinho's statement yesterday to all those Liverpool fans who were out there slagging him off and all the anti-press and everybody else. £75 million for the Dutch Chris Smalling. That's what Liverpool want to pay to have a centre-back, because I've no doubts out there. There are Manchester United fans who don't want to accept that Chris Smalling is actually quite a decent centre-back in the Premier League. But for anybody who's watched anything of Van Dijk, he's bang average. He's no better than Chris Smalling, and they are spending £75 million on him. And for anybody who thinks that Van Dijk is a brilliant centre-back, Man City were looking at buying him as a backup centre-back whilst a couple of theirs are out injured. United never were interested in him. Arsenal not interested in him. Chelsea not interested in him. Liverpool desperate to sign him for £75 million. Absolute joke. The second aspect of this is Manchester United need to do business in January, and Liverpool have probably just gone and destroyed everybody's opportunity of doing business in January because they have massively overpaid for a 26-year-old Southampton centre-back. I mean, £75 million. And people wonder why it's very difficult to get signings done in today's market with ridiculously inflated prices like that. And these are the same Liverpool fans who were mocking us for spending £89 million on Paul Pogba. With every passing minute, the Paul Pogba deal seems like a bargain, doesn't it? £75 million for the Dutch Chris Smalling. £75 million for a 26-year-old Southampton centre-back. £75 million. Another 14 would get you the best midfielder in European football elect, Paul Pogba. Ridiculous amount of money to spend on that. But how fitting and how perfect it is that only 24 hours after Jose Mourinho came out and said that £300 million is not enough to turn round a Manchester United side that needs a lot of work, and this is year 2. And I've seen, and tonight is a Skype show, so you can all call in and have your say on this, but I've seen a lot of Manchester United fans for the last 24 hours saying it's a disgrace. And the press have jumped on it as well, quoting this, quoting that. Well, yes, Pep has spent a little bit more than Mourinho, about £40 million, but come on, it's more or less the same. It's more or less the net spend. Mourinho doesn't know what he's talking about. Manchester United fans, Mourinho's had more than enough support. Even Wenger jumping in and saying, oh, you know, he's had more money. Of course he has. But what we're talking about here is not that Manchester United have more money than Burnley, more money than Arsenal, more money than Chelsea. We've got more money than you lot. We earn our money, by the way, but we've got more money than you. What we're talking about here is we're not trying to compete with Arsenal, so Wenger can sit down and take the L as per usual. Shut up, Wenger, and everybody else shut up and sit down. What Mourinho is talking about is the only thing I'm interested in. How do we stop Manchester City? So Arsenal and Wenger coming out today and saying, well, I find it a little bit odd that Mourinho is talking about having lots of money. I wish I had lots of money. Rubbish French accent. But Mourinho's not talking about you, Arsene. He's talking about how does he stop the juggernaut of Manchester City? How does he stop Confetti Pep and his checks and his open checks? £50 million on right backs. And the great thing about Pep is as well, if you're a Man City fan, which I hope not many people are, is that he also gets away with it. So he can sign somebody like Nolito. It doesn't work out, fine, forget that. I'll move on to somebody else. Because the press don't give him any stick for his flops. And the owners certainly don't give him any stick. They'll just go, that's fine. Mourinho doesn't have that luxury. One, he doesn't get the players he needs. But two, if he has a flop, it's all over the press. The owners no doubt are going, what you've got wrong, why's that gone wrong? So when Mourinho says £300 million is not enough to sort Manchester United out, of course you get the sensational claptrap that, oh, Mourinho, you can't write it. He gives us perlers every single day. Well, he's actually speaking. As soon as he said it last night, and I had a few people messaging me saying it as well. As soon as he said it last night, I agreed with Mourinho. I don't think £300 million is anywhere near enough to sort this Manchester United side out. Nowhere near. Not even close. But Liverpool, the perennial L deliverers, have delivered us the biggest L on their forehead tonight by spending £75 million on a centre-back. So if £75 million is now the going rate for a Southampton centre-back, how the bloody hell can Jose Mourinho sort out Manchester United's 4 years of failure and bad signings with £300 million? £300 million in the modern day, you tell me, forget the signings we've made. How would you solve Manchester United's problems taken over from Van Gaal with just £300 million? Because we've got nothing coming through the youth. We had a squad full of crap, average, bone-idle bottlers, apart from maybe 2 or 3 players. £300 million doesn't buy you a whole team. He's bought Pogba, he's a success. Zlatan was actually a good till his injury. Bay's been good, just a bit injury prone. No one could have foreseen that. Matic has been good. Lukaku, Mkhitaryan probably a flop. Lindelof, he said was going to take time. So I think he's done very, very well. But I think he needs another 6 signings. I really do. Matthew McFadden's made a contribution. I'll be honest, I really rate Virgil van Dijk. Brilliant on his day. But £75 million is mad. Southampton are laughing their way to the bank. Look, you cannot spend... Look, I don't think Van Dijk's bad. But come on, what has he done? What has he done in football apart from have a few good games for Southampton? They've spent... I mean, this is the brilliant thing. I love it. I love it. It's just something else has dropped into my head. £75 million is what we spent for Lukaku. They are spending £75 million on a centre-back from Southampton. We spent £75 million on Lukaku, who is a consistent Premier League 20-plus goals striker. And they've just spent that on a centre-back. Sit down, you stupid Scousers, because you've mugged yourself off more than anybody else. This is the Christmas gift that keeps on giving. Van Dijk's not a bad centre-back, but he is no way worth £75 million. And I was just going to talk about Lukaku there and say, look, Lukaku, on his day, he's a good striker. But is he what we need? I don't know. I don't know. But I think we do need another 6 or 7 signings at Manchester United. Anyway, I do want to open up the calls. It is Skype Goldbridge. Do get calling in and have your say. But the bad thing about this signing from Liverpool is that it just makes our job much, much harder. Because when an idiot club like Liverpool go and spend £75 million on a Southampton centre-back, who has done nothing in the game, by the way, other than, granted, he's a good centre-back, but his potential, he's not done Champions League, he's done nothing for his country, he's not, I can name 7 better centre-backs off the top of my head in the Premier League alone. So they spend £75 million on that. That makes it very, very hard for Manchester United. Very, very hard for Manchester United to go and sign players this January. There's talk that Manchester United will be looking to sign 6 players in the next 2 transfer windows. But I'm opening the call up now. I've had my say about Van Dijk. I know I've got Sophie up first. I think she can hear me. Can you hear me, Sophie?
Hi, Mark. I can hear you, yeah.
Great. Okay, so you had a lot to say last night, as many people were talking about, and obviously I messaged you about it this morning asking you to come on. The floor is yours. Manchester United at the moment, there's a divide. I'm very happy with this Liverpool signing because I think it totally justifies Mourinho's statement yesterday that a lot of people ridiculed that £300 million is not enough to fix Manchester United's problems. The press have jumped on him. United fans have jumped on him. Not all. Where do you stand at the moment with what's going on with Manchester United? How they solve it in the future? What's gone wrong over the last few weeks? The floor is yours.
Well, I mentioned yesterday that the fact that Jesse Lingard at the minute is basically our star player is worrying. Because for me, as much as I do like Jesse Lingard, obviously he's a Manc lad and he's homegrown. For me, he should be nowhere near a Manchester United starting lineup. And that tells me that we need to strengthen. And I completely agree with Mourinho. I mean, we need to get over the fact that I know Van Dijk's just cost £75 million and he's not worth that. I do rate Van Dijk, but he's not worth £75 million. But at the end of the day, the market is evolving and the money at the minute is crazy. And obviously, I expect us now, hopefully, the board to back Mourinho and us to spend a lot of money in January because I think we need to. Personally, for me, I've said that I think we need a winger, maybe a centre midfielder. That's what I think we need to target. But the worrying thing for me is Lingard being one of our main players at the minute when he shouldn't even be anywhere near the starting lineup. And that tells me we need to strengthen.
I think, you know what, I said this in my match reaction yesterday and I got a lot of stick for it. It was like, oh, you never give Lingard any credit. And I think, look, Jesse Lingard saved us a point yesterday. Nobody can argue with that. But this, for me, Burnley side will finish 8th or below. They are a mid-table side. They should be getting absolutely torn apart at Old Trafford. We created no chances. We created 3 good chances. In fact, Lingard missed the sitter, but he scored 2 good goals.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think, you have to be harsh to be kind. I think some people just want to flip into an easy lane and coast through to titles in the future, but it's not going to happen. I said 3 weeks ago, we've got to be aggressive in the transfer window. We've got to be ruthless with the players that we've got. I agree. Jesse Lingard, for me, is a bench player. He is not a number 10. And you cannot say, oh, just because he plays with passion, that he is... Look, I don't know what you think, Sophie. We will never win the title with Jesse Lingard starting games for Manchester United. It's the same as Fellaini, and that might be harsh, but I would argue it with anyone.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, Jesse Lingard, I think his attitude and his work rate is superb. If you're looking at Man City at the moment and the players they've got, Jesse Lingard is nowhere near in that bracket. He would not get into that City team. No matter how hard he works, he should not be anywhere near a team that should be competing for the Premier League and playing in the Champions League. As much as I like Jesse, he's just not good enough, let's face it. And the fact that he's standing out at the minute just says a lot about the rest of the United team, in my opinion. Just not good enough across the board for me.
And I agree. I think this is where we need to be. I think there are some United fans at the moment who are in the same mindset of you, where we do have to be ruthless, cruel to be kind and all that. And I agree. I think we should not be looking at what's behind us. We should be looking ahead. And to be honest, I said it the other night, when Manchester United are signing players now, I really think we've got to have the mentality, is this a player that Real Madrid would want? And if it isn't, forget it, because that's what we're aiming to be. But I want to throw this question to you, because it's come from DSH3RRY711. Probably should read that better. But he says, Sean Dyche has clearly done well with an average Burnley side. So is the problem not Mourinho? Money only gets you so far. I can go on, outer characters. So, I think some people are angry with Mourinho. They don't like the tactics. We're not creating the chances. He has had money to spend. Burnley didn't have a very good squad yesterday when you look at it in financial reasons. We've got to be honest, there are United fans out there who are just not happy with Mourinho. They want him out. What would you say to those fans who say that sort of thing? Because, their voice is as valid as ours.
Yeah, I mean, I think we haven't created chances. I mean, if you look at against Bristol, Lingard rounded the keeper and hit the post. And if he puts that away, arguably we go on to win that game. And for me, we're missing simple chances, and finishing it has been an issue. So I think we are creating chances. The issue for me is the style of football. I think we're too slow, we're too static. We're lacking width, which is why I've said I'd like a winger in January. I do think, I'm not Mourinho out, but I do think something needs to change. Something is obviously broken along the line. We can't keep going on like this. I'm hoping January solves the issue for us and we spend on the right players. We're not just buying players for the sake of it. I hope we get the right players in, because I agree with what you said, Mark, that Pep has inherited obviously a far more talented City side, whereas Mourinho hasn't. He's got players like Lingard, Fellaini, which obviously do need to be improved on. So, I'm not Mourinho out, I don't blame him, but I do think tactically he has got some things wrong down the line, and I do think that we need to change some tactics, and we need to be a bit more creative and a bit more free going with our football. A bit like the old Man United, get some wingers, attack with pace, and be more creative in our style, because we are a bit boring at the minute. We do lack ideas, but I do think that's down to personnel as well, and we do need to improve.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I was thinking about it yesterday, and the one thing I would say, because I get a lot of stick for backing Mourinho, but I've always been open to that. Even when we were successful and when we got him, I said I won't turn against Mourinho. I can't see it, and I'm certainly nowhere near that at the moment. But what I would say about yesterday is that for the first time yesterday, and Leicester a little bit, but yesterday I was like, we'd be better off. I hate to say it, but part of me was like, I would rather we lost this game than draw it, because a point isn't really enough. And what I mean by that is, because it sounds really weird and people are like, what you want United to lose the game? I think the inquest from a loss would have been far bigger than the inquest from a draw. And what I mean by that is, I think we need an inquest. I think there's a big problem when those players are not good enough. And I give respect to Burnley, but it is Burnley, and we are Manchester United, and we have spent a certain amount of money, and we have got man for man better team. I think that draw sort of, we come away from it, and people are disappointed, but it's sort of like, well, we still got a point. Lingard rescued it, this, that, and that. I think if we'd lost it, the inquest is even bigger. And by inquest, I mean the board have got to take. I think look, for me, I don't know what you think, we should not be Mourinho out, because he's been quite vocal about the fact that he's not been backed. I just want the board to back him. If he's still wrong, he's got to go. And I agree with people then. But I just want him to be given the opportunity. I want him to give him the tools that we know we have as a club. We've got the funds. Give him the funds.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, I'm not Mourinho out, but obviously I've just said something needs to change. And the worry for me is we're not scoring. Obviously, we're not finishing when we're attacking, but defensively we look a bit vulnerable, which we haven't under Mourinho. We've looked strong. However, you've got to take into account as well, we have had some injuries. If you look at Boye, who was obviously a Mourinho signing, fantastic signing, he's been out injured. And you have to take things like that into account as well. We have been unlucky defensively with a few injuries.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, Sophie, thanks for opening up the call for us. Really, really good call. And I'll no doubt we'll speak again, maybe just after New Year, about getting you on again.
Yeah, bro, thanks for having me on, Mark.
No worries.
Thanks,
Soph. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Just picking up on what Sophie was saying there as well about the Man City thing. I have mentioned it quite a lot on the show that that Mourinho's basically said £300 million is not enough. The press have been all over it. Some United fans have been all over it, saying he's an idiot for saying that. Wenger's said it as well in so many words. Oh, I wish I had that money. Look, Wenger, as I said a few minutes ago, shut up and sit down. You've got no right to get involved in trying to win a title talk. Mourinho was specifically talking about Man City. That's why he said they're spending £50 million on right-backs when most clubs can't spend that on a striker. He was actually being generous to Arsenal when he said that, Mourinho. Mourinho's talking about how he gets Manchester United to compete with this Manchester City juggernaut. And £300 million is not enough. And I've said it so many times that I don't want to dwell it too much, but Sophie sort of alluded to it there. What I'm saying is, look, Pep has still spent £50 million more than Mourinho has in his time. I think it's 280 to 330 million, which is a lot of money. But Pep did inherit 4 or 5 top class players in Silva, De Bruyne, Aguero, Kompany, and even the likes of Sterling have had a good season as well. Mourinho inherited De Gea, that was it, and a young Martial, that was it. That's all he had. So Pep spent more, bought more players, and had better players there when he joined. So Mourinho, of course he needs to spend more money. Only an idiot can't see that, and I'm sorry, I defend Mourinho on that. And most of the people who would have a go at him are the press. And as I said, only an idiot would not analyse it properly and see that. So when we're talking about these 6 signings that are in the press today, apparently we're talking about a right back, a left back, 2 midfielders, a number 10 and a winger. Maybe he'll be German. And a winger. And I think that is pretty much, I don't think we need a left back, so Luke Shaw I'd cross off, but we do need a right back because of the age of Valencia. 2 midfielders I agree with, a number 10 yes, and a winger yes. So 5 players, but you know what? I would forget the left back and I'd get another striker. I would. I think, but 6 is right. So Mourinho's right. Whether people want to moan about how much he spent or not, Mourinho is right. We do need at least another 5 players, and that in today's market is, well, we've just seen, thank you Liverpool, £75 million for a run-of-the-mill centre-back in Premier League. For a decent, let's be generous, £75 million for a decent Premier League centre-back. So, but what I would say, I want to flip it around the other way and say this. I'm just going to get Jared on as well, just while I've got him there, so I can queue him up. Just before I come to Jared, I just want to say this as well, that in relation to what Liverpool have just done, I mean, I'll ask this of Jared as a first question, actually, because it's a statement, and I want to get your answer to this, Jared. In relation to, we were talking about this collectively on the United stand for the last few weeks, that Manchester United need to do business in January. If nobody is signed on January the 31st, there's going to be a big problem, because United fans are not going to be very happy, because we need to start closing that gap on Man City. If we don't do any business in January now, and we know Liverpool have spent £75 million, there's going to be even more trouble.
100%. And how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You have a good Christmas.
Excellent. Always nice to get the day off. And yeah, with what you're saying, I think if we don't have big spending in January, the writing's on the wall. Mourinho won't be there in the summer. So I think it's a very big telling sign in January what happens, because I think Mourinho already has his list of players that he wants. So I think by default, and I got to give Liverpool credit. Even though they overpaid for him, that may have been strategic anyway. It's like, let's give Southampton so much money that anybody who buys anything in this window is going to have to pay such astronomical fees that, we'll end up getting a good deal anyway and get the player we wanted. I don't hate what they did as much as I hate the team.
No, I agree. And, people are saying that as well. Liverpool have got business done already. Why are we not getting business done already? Look, I back Mourinho. The results late. Well, it's your call, Jared. What's going on with United at the moment? Why? What is it? How do we solve it? What's your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. It's like people keep bringing up the monetary value of what we put into the club, how much we spent. But you have to think in like a bigger scale. Like since 2015, right, the club spending is similar to Man City, right? but everything is kind of warped by certain fees that we have to pay that they didn't for a couple of years. When they were buying players, they bought them at average rates. So you got De Bruyne at $60 million. He's worth $170 million, but they got him at a price that, you know, we would never get because we're Manchester United. Now when City buy people, they will have to pay the price that we paid. But the problem is they already have their squad. They're just going to fill out pieces. Whereas Mourinho has to rebuild an entire squad with an inept board who honestly, and this is the bigger part of the problem, unfortunately, like, Americans don't look at it the right way. We look at it as a business. So when you say how many people on that board have actually watched a football match, how many of them understand what they're talking about? So when you get to that bigger question of, like, is Mourinho the problem or the board? I don't know if Mourinho's the problem. I think his tactics are problematic because of what has happened with this year in the Premier League. Like, if you look back, Mourinho's tactics are exactly what you need to win the Premier League, right? You're willing to give up possession to make a counterattack work, and that counterattack should win you the league, right? Like Leicester, I think it was 20 minutes less than the opponent that they held the ball. Chelsea was 11 minutes. Pep actually holds the ball, I think it's 10 minutes longer than opponents. So it's like Jose may have been building a squad for something that he is not ready to compete with because Pep's an all-out attacking team. It's not how Mourinho plays. So he needs to rework this entire squad with a board who honestly doesn't understand what they're talking about. So it's like the board. Remember when we, over the summer, were getting rumors about Rodriguez?
Yes, I do, yeah.
I think that was a board signing. Someone who they could market. Like a Schweinsteiger, like a Rodriguez, these people who have no value on the field to a guy like Mourinho, but could sell shirts. And then you have guys like Matic and Perisic, and those are people that Jose wanted. He got one of them. I think the problem is we're going to be fighting for people to the board to approve of Perisic when Pep has already built his whole team. And it's like, at that point, how do you blame Mourinho at that level?
I mean, the only thing I would say is, look, I have to be balanced, even though I 100% back Mourinho, and obviously I've come out at the start of this show and been very adamant about that, and I don't like some of the press nonsense written about him over the last 24 hours because I think he's right. It does take more than £300 million to sort out, you know, what he inherited from Van Gaal was a disgrace. Van Gaal spent a lot of money on average players, but what I would say as well is, though, I've always been baffled by something which I'll mention in a minute, and I want to get Jared's answer to it. But also, Leicester had 10 men. We created a lot of chances to win that game. I don't understand why in the last 5 minutes we parked the bus and let them put crosses into the box when they put their centre-back up front, and then why we got our centre-back to be their centre-back to be marked by an injured Chris Smalling. That you know, he should be sorting that out. That was basics. But every manager makes mistakes. But the one thing that I don't like about Mourinho, and I will keep saying it time and time again, is I've never understood his fascination with Fellaini. And apparently we're in this situation with Fellaini now where Mourinho wants him to stay, but Fellaini will only stay for £170,000. This was in the Telegraph today. This is the most symbolic thing that I think this absolutely is a massive, massive moment for Mourinho, Manchester United, to make a statement about where we are going as the future. Because Fellaini, unfortunately for him, I don't want him at Manchester United, I never have. But unfortunately for him, I think he's symbolic of Manchester United's problems. Do we want to battle for 4th place or do we want to battle for 1st place? Because you don't win a title with Fellaini in your squad. You don't. You don't win titles with Fellaini in your squad. Now, are we going to give him 170 grand to stay? Or are we going to say, off you go, you Belgian Peter Crouch. There's your lump of coal. It's Christmas. Now get out and never darken our door again, you cheeky, cheeky man asking for that amount of money. I mean, that's my personal thought. And I think Fellaini signifies everything that's wrong with Manchester United. That we have been overpaying for players who realistically, honestly, do not really deserve to be wearing the shirt.
100%. And, you know, it's like, I think it's gotten to the point where some of our own fans are a little out of whack when it comes to, like, we're not just going to win games because we're Manchester United. It's like, it's not the 90s. It's not 2000. It doesn't make sense. It's like, we're not in a title chase. We're not close to a title chase. Jose has them, I would say, fighting above their weight in points. But again, Fellaini should not be discussed just like he was being discussed 2 years ago. It's like, why are these people still on this team? It's like Lingard should be playing FA Cups. He's awesome this year. Don't get me wrong. He shouldn't even be in the discussion. Like, if Martial is not on the pitch every time, then give me a reason why. Like, are we building a team around Pogba, Ozil, Griezmann, Bale, people that we want to bring in that, like, this is just a season to write off? Or is this, like, are these the people he's really going with? Because, like, Fellaini, it's not even a discussion. There's no way anyone is seriously considering paying him $170,000. And if they do, then get out those scarves. Because that's a huge problem. You know, it's like, at that point, you know the board's got a problem.
Yeah, I agree. Jared, really enjoyed the call. Thanks for calling, and please do call in again.
Pleasure, Mark. You stay well.
You too, and have a good New Year if I don't speak to you before.
See you, bud.
Ta-da. Yeah, look, really, really good points. I want to take as many as possible. There must be somebody out there who wants to call in and have their say about Mourinho. And you know, on the United stand, look, you're not going to... If I disagree with you, you're still going to get the floor. So don't worry about it. If you want Mourinho out or anything like that, please do call in and give us your side. Because there are people who feel like that. I mean, like Sarah Cantalo's made a comment here in the live chat and said... Mark, you make out the squads Mourinho inherited was absolutely terrible. They were not that bad. Come on, be real. Look, sorry, Sarah. I think the squad that Mourinho inherited, comparable to what Pep inherited, was rubbish. I mean, De Gea, very world class. Apart from that, Martial potential world class. That was it. I mean, you look at that squad. It didn't have Pogba. Rashford was a kid and still is a kid. Rooney was finished, and then it's really just people like Herrera, Blind, Darmian, Jones, Smalling, you know, all on their day can be very good, but they're not De Bruyne, Silva, Aguero, company, you know, they're not. And that's what I'm saying. And that's what winds me up the most, is that £300 million does not go a long way in the modern game, especially when you're Manchester United. It really, really doesn't. Let's take another call. Let's get somebody on and see what they've got to say. Rodney's not been on for a while. Rodney, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Merry Christmas. I hope you're well.
Yes, I'm fine. And Merry Christmas to you.
Good, good. Go on then, Rodney. I'm sure you've got some strong opinions. Let us know. And everybody do drop a like on the video. We've got some really good calls tonight. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes while we're live, and there's lots of people watching.
Yeah. I mean, I've been listening to the call. I listened to Sophie's comments and the last caller. I mean, all valid points, really. Manchester United are in a position where we're only as big as the shadow we cast. And there's a lot of talk about how big the club is, but we're relying on history, and the history keeps moving further and further away. The history of the club is based on what went before and not now. And the players that are at the club are not as big or as good as the players that played before. That's the reality of the situation as we see it. There is no escaping the results that we witnessed in the last week and a half. That is the situation with Manchester United. So as much as I love the club, you love the club, fans around the world love the club, there is an imbalance in terms of the relationship. We understand what the team need. Mourinho understands what the team needs. The board are happy with the way things are because Man United are still second, and Man United are still in the Champions League. So as far as they're concerned, the cash revenue still pulls in what they need to do to pay off the debt. They're only interested in the debt. And the last caller talking about Rodriguez in terms of as a marquee player. You know, I even questioned, in fact, let me clarify a bit with Rodriguez. I understand why the board would do that, because they're only interested in about shirt sales, who they can link. And if I'm mistaken, Rodriguez is assigned to Adidas. Maybe he is. Right, okay. So for them, they're trying to look at that in terms of marketing, not necessarily what needs to happen on the pitch. For me, the brand is the football team, not what the shirt is, or not who wears the shirt. It's the actual players. So if you don't invest in the players, the brand in itself is tarnished. And right now, as much as I say that Manchester United are, you know, the one and the best club in the world, we're playing second fiddle to a team up the road who are literally bashing their way to the top of the table and beyond. They are eclipsing what some teams have already done in the brief history of the Premier League. And because of it, the pundits are actually just basically rolling over and letting them tickle their tummy, and they're giving Mourinho a hard time. What Mourinho said in the press conference was absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. If you can spend £50 million on a right back or a left back, the striker that we bought, is he really world class? because they're £50 million for a right back. Then a centre forward has got to be 150, 200 million. We didn't spend that money. So the reality is that Man United are shopping in a totally different store if that's what they're interested in. If they're not interested in the quality on the pitch, can you imagine now if Mourinho said, I want Harry Kane, what his value would be right at this minute?
It's got to be 200 million, hasn't it?
Oh, listen, it's off the planet.
That, I mean, and thanks to Liverpool for that, because £75 million for Van Dijk is ridiculous, and it's just chucked up everybody's price.
Exactly.
So, you know,
Exactly.
and you're right there, Rodney, as well, because you know Manchester United are run by a board from America and shareholders and everything like that. They will have allocated Mourinho what he's getting in the summer, let alone January. I guarantee you, it's no more than £200 million. So if he needs a winger, he needs a number 10, he needs a midfielder, straight away he's not getting it because we haven't got the money to do that. I mean, Jay Coldhurst just says Dybala for £140 million apparently. Pay it, I say. Well, even if we do, that's one player for £140 million. We still need wingers. We still need a midfielder. So this is brilliant. This is music to Man City's ears because their money is a plaything for their owners. They'll be like, what do you want, Pep? What do you want, Pep? What do you want, Pep? Whereas Manchester United and most other clubs will go, no, we can't afford it. We just have to crack on with you just have to crack on with Lingard and Rashford because I can't get you a winger. I've got no money. And that is why I think you're touching on it there, Rodney. That is why I think Man City can dominate for the next few years. Not because they've got Sir Alex Ferguson and a great setup and a youth setup and a brilliant side or anything like that. Simply because they can bully the hell out of everybody because they can just go and spend what they like and nobody else can.
Yeah, do you know what, Mark? It's not even so much that they can spend. I mean, anyone who knows about the owners know they've got money. It's that they were forward thinking. It wasn't just about the money. You can have money and blow it. Do you know what I mean? You can go and blow money and spend it on stupid players that are worth no value and your team will get relegated. They were very shrewd. 50 to 60 million for key players in midfield and defence. Nothing more than that. How did they get Jesus for less than 50 million? When you look at, I mean, I remember when I saw Sane come on for Germany, and I was thinking, who's this kid? They goes, oh yeah, he's the next big thing. He was fast. I looked at him and I thought, he's quick, but I couldn't really see what they were talking about. Man City knew. Man City went out of their way. Their scouting team went out of their way and said, we want you at our club. Where's the scouts for Manchester United? All this talk about former players, like class of 92, Giggs should have been formed. What are they doing? The amount of top quality players that played for Manchester United, Van der Sar, Ronnie Johnson, Stam, why are they not scouts? Dwight York, and why are they not scouts? Why not? Why not? You know, it's not as if there isn't an abundance of former world-class players that Man United say, yeah, we've had them on our roster, we can use them. They've got contacts, they've got eyes and ears. What's happening? Every week it's the same thing. We need wingers. Yeah, we need wingers, but no one's playing with wingers. And if they are playing with wingers, Manchester City has already acquired them and has them stocked up so that no one else can purchase them. Right now, when it gets to the market with the World Cup next year, any player being linked to Manchester United is going to be in some astronomical figure, and the people that pay it will be us.
Do you think we're going to do business in January? It's a straight question.
Honestly, no.
And there's going to be uproar, isn't there?
Yeah, no, I'm being honest. Yeah. For me, I think I want there to be business done, but the owners and the shareholders, they're businessmen. They don't give two hoots about us. They don't care. They look at the stocks, the stocks and shares, and think, we're a Manchester United. Well, they're still second, right? They're still in the Champions League, right? Revenue's coming in. We don't need to do anything. That's it.
Yeah. We've discussed it ourselves over the summer last year. I remember discussing it, and it's been discussed for years on here. I mean, it's not even something that makes me think let's get the yellow and green scarves out and start, you know, doing protests. It's been like it for over a decade. You know, we were bought by business people who have no affiliation to Manchester United at all. They bought us on debt, and as businessmen, I stand up and applaud them. I won't because I don't want them to run our club, but as a business decision, it never should have been allowed, and have no doubts about it. They do bleed money from our club to make profit because they're businessmen. And part of me with the business head on says, you know what a piece of business that was. As United fans, it makes us sick because somebody said it a few minutes ago in the live comments. We're the richest club in the world. Why don't we show it? Well, you know what? We're not just the richest club in the world. We actually generate that money. You know, there's no oil money coming in. There's no Russian oligarch or anything like that. This is a club that is the richest club in the world because it's got the biggest fan base in the world, and all the money comes in from sponsors and everything because they want a piece of that Manchester United fan base, and all that money comes in because of you, me, and everybody else. And it's sad that it goes off to businessmen, but that's the modern game, and I don't have an answer to how that's done. I genuinely say this because I think this is the only solution, Rodney, is that we're really in the hands of the owners, and whether they are happy to sit back and just take the profits, or whether they actually, you know, want to flex their muscles and win trophies. And I don't know. I don't know. I think they flex their muscles when we're not in the Champions League because we need to be in that. But once we're in it, they're like, well, you know what? Probably.
The thing is, it'll take conversations like this between fans to grow and spread, because the scenario is this: you get rid of Jose, who you're going to get? You're going to get another manager in. Their hands will be tied the same way. They'll probably be promised certain things, and then when they walk through the door, it's a totally different scenario to what they've been promised. You know, they will be given a budget. They'll be told that they need to manage in a particular way. They'll be told that they need to keep the players that they have. Certain players were given contracts that they shouldn't have been given, extensions, etc., etc. And then the person will become disillusioned and think, what am I doing here? This is the biggest club in the world. Manchester United right now, to the owners, is like the genie in the bottle. All they need to do is rub its tummy, and there goes, yep, more money coming out, more money coming out, more money coming out. And until it changes in terms of who the owners are, or the fans actually decide to say, you know what, I'm going to turn up late for this game. I'm going to turn up 15 minutes late. I wait outside. And if it's a game that's televised, they won't like it because they'll think, whoa, we don't want that being seen on TV, especially worldwide. That's when the owners will kind of sit up and think, what do we need to do? Because I support Jose, you support Jose, there'll be people out there support Jose, but for those that don't, imagine we get a different manager and we're still in the same scenario. What are we going to do then?
Yeah, and I think you've just touched on it there. I mean, I like the class of '92. Wouldn't let him anywhere near the job. I think it's the biggest risk in the world, probably up there with Moyes. I like Ancelotti, but I'm not convinced he'd do any better than Mourinho. Sir Alex Ferguson isn't coming out of retirement, so there's nobody better than Mourinho. And it does worry me a little bit that his contract is up at the end of next year, and people go, "Oh, it's 18 months away." It's not really. It's not. It's June. Because if he doesn't sign a contract before then, you don't go into your final year of a contract as a manager because everyone's like, well, is he even staying? So there's a massive amount of uncertainty at the club. And Red Prepper says here we need to spend another 500 million. And that sounds ridiculous. And I'm sure if there are fans of other clubs out there, they're just going, oh, you know, checkbook club and everything like that. Which, we, you know, to be honest, I don't really care. We have the right to do that. We do make our money and we should spend it. But I do. I think we are 500 million away. And that sounds ridiculous. But I do think we're 500 million pounds away. Because we do need a right back, we do need two midfielders, we do need a number 10, and we do need a winger, and maybe even another striker.
Yeah, no, the squad needs strengthening in every single position that you said and more. Every single position, because we can't. Jose doesn't really trust the youth, and the youth that he does trust, one week we say they do great things, the next thing we say, oh my God, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done. They're still learning. They're still learning and they're prone to mistakes. And I think in high pressurized games where the stakes are high, we're expecting the finished article and we don't have it. And in terms of the finished article, like Zlatan is more than finished. It's out of date.
Yeah, it's sad about that.
You know, it's sad. You know, I mean, as much as I love him, I think I wish he'd have been at Old Trafford 4 years ago. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, he's just doesn't look fit to me. But thanks for calling, Rod. Nice to get you on.
Worries.
And have a great New Year. I'll speak to you in the New Year.
Yeah, definitely. Take care.
Cheers, Rodney. Thanks for calling in.
Right.
Whack a like on the video. We've had 3 good calls tonight, and you know, I've been looking forward to this because obviously Christmas, a couple of days off, or not in the normal set, and you know, we normally do the Skype show at 8 o'clock on a Monday night, but obviously it's New Year's Day and we're playing on Monday, and obviously it was Christmas Day, so we've done it tonight, and I think it's a perfect night to do it because we've had a couple of bad results. And there's a lot of uncertainty about how we resolve it. And obviously then Liverpool have just spent £75 million on a centre-back, so that's even more of a kick up the arse for us to go and do some business in January, which some people don't think we will. I'm hoping we will. I'm not going to commit to we will or we won't, but I'm hoping that we will. So drop a like on the video, and if you are new to the United Stand, subscribe. Bottom right hand corner hologram, subscribe, get your notifications on. We are live every single night at 8 o'clock. We've got transfer news, previews, transfer daily starts 7 o'clock every morning from January the 1st, so loads going on. United Stand is the channel for the fans, and I think yet again you've all been brilliant who've called in and on the live comments. I'm just going to take a few live comments before the next call actually. Connie Ends made a contribution through the super chat option. You can do that by clicking the $ on the super chat if it's available in your country, and says United the new Arsenal, top 4 in Champions League, no need to win it, just to be in it. Well, you know what, Connie, whether that's an Arsenal fan's point of view or not, I think you're it's very right in relation to the owners. Arsenal's owners are worse than ours. They are very happy with Champions League, top 4, money generating club, but they keep Wenger, who they should have sacked a long time ago. At least our owners do sort of try to be. I mean, I've got to defend the owners on that point. They didn't just sit back with Moyes and Van Gaal, but then again, they couldn't do because they weren't going to get us top 4. So we'll see with Mourinho. But the thing is about Mourinho, the brilliance about Mourinho's appointment was that even if our owners were like, yeah, we're happy to finish 2nd or 3rd every year because the money rolls in, it rolls in. But when you appoint Mourinho, he's not a manager who's happy to finish 2nd or 3rd. It's 1st or nowhere. So, you know, the board got Mourinho. Woodward got Mourinho. And Mourinho wants to win. And that is the positive. And the longer Mourinho's at Manchester United, the better, because he wants to win. And I back him. But I'm not saying it will always work out. But what I am saying is that I really want him just to be given the money. Give him the money. Let's see what he can do. Because it's a massive challenge. It'd be a massive challenge for Sir Alex. You know, you're up against Pep Guardiola, who only takes easy challenges on. He only backs the winning horse. He'll only jump on that horse when it's very close to the finishing line and it's well clear. And at Man City and Bayern Munich and Barcelona, he had, whether it was world-class players, open checkbook, domination of a league, more or less guaranteed as long as he was given the open checkbook. And at Man City, he's got that. So to overturn that, and it's a running horse as well. You know, Mourinho's trying to he's not even in the chase. I don't think Mourinho. He's got to get his horse up to gear. But you know, Pep's out there and he just keeps adding little bits on, adds bits on. So it's a massive, massive challenge for Mourinho. And I wouldn't. Part of me would say, you know, I wouldn't be stunned if he walked away in the summer anyway, because if he doesn't get that back in, why would he continue to, you know, take all this heat from the press, even United fans? I think I've clicked Kieran. Can you hear me, Kieran?
Yeah, can I hear you.
How you doing, pal?
Yeah, good, yeah.
Good, good. Merry Christmas, and let's. What does he want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I just want to talk about Mourinho again.
Okay.
I think it's a fair point that he hasn't been backed, or he hasn't been given the support. But and I 100% agree with it. But I just don't think that can be. You can't make that excuse for the last 2 draws. I think that's on Mourinho. I think both them games was his fault, and his fault only. The handling of the Smalling issue, I mean, this goes back to what I've been saying in the past about, you know, on the sideline, what does he do? He just stands there and sits down and talks to the fellow beside him. If that was Pep, he'd be screaming at Jones or Smalling or whoever's there to, you know, get Smalling out on the right back or wherever. Just get him out of the way.
I've got to be honest with you. I do agree with about the Smalling thing. I do. You know, obviously everyone knows about Mourinho, but I was furious with the Leicester thing. I didn't like the way we sat back and the handling of the Smalling thing. Just take him off the pitch or put him up front, but don't leave him in the centre back position against their centre back when he can't even jump.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the before Christmas Eve, I was absolutely livid. But again, I just don't think it's not down to the money, and it's a very, very fair point that he hasn't been backed with the money, but that's not the reason we drew them last 2 games. And that's
what do you think about did you watch the game yesterday? And what you know, just because nobody's mentioned it tonight, so I'd just be interested. What do you think he got wrong yesterday against Burnley? Because from what I saw, we just didn't create enough chances. But he did go you know, both goals, again, a cross comes in the box. Lukaku assists for them. That's 1-0 down. The second one was a free kick. It's beat De Gea, all square up, so that's 2-0. Half time, he goes 3 at the back. I didn't think we created enough chances in the second half, but, you know, no Martial. Zlatan was taken off, which was ridiculous. You could say that probably should never have played in the first place. That's on him. But what did you feel about yesterday that he got wrong in relation to the resources he has? I mean, Lingard's a player I wouldn't have in the starting lineup, but he actually got us 2 goals to get us a draw.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention Lingard. I think the first caller said, you know, yeah, and you're just saying that there, Lingard shouldn't be in the starting lineup. And I agree to an extent that he shouldn't be if we want to be winning the title, but there's Zlatan at the number 10.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on Mourinho, as I was saying, and you know, Lingard's our best number 10 at the moment. I don't think
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think you're spot on. I think, you know, that may be. I think people sort of misconstrued what I was saying yesterday about Lingard. Is that, look, if you want to win a title, Lingard shouldn't be in the starting team. But, you know, hold my hands up. If we didn't have Lingard yesterday, we'd have lost that game.
Yeah, well, and you know, and to be fair to Mourinho, it is the first time he played him at number 10. So, you know, and I have called for Zlatan to be at number 10, but he shouldn't be there ever again. And he probably shouldn't start for the club again for the rest of the season, in my opinion.
Where do you think we're going to be, Kieran? Where do you think this is going to go? Because you've got some people saying that United, he'll get the players he needs and he'll turn it round. You've got some people saying this is the beginning of the end. It's only going to get worse. I mean, you know, your opinion's as good as anybody else's opinion. Where do you see this being for United, the future?
Well, what I think we should do is we should forget looking at Griezmann or, you know, players that are in the Champions League. We need to be looking at, you know, for example, Van Dijk, just players that aren't in the Champions League, and we should just focus on that right now. Goretzka, is he in the Champions League? Just players like that, and just focus on that. I think forget the Premier League. Well, in terms of winning it, it will be top 4, and I think we'll struggle to get in the top 4. You know, Chelsea are a point away, Liverpool are catching up, Spurs are back where they are again. So I just think in January, forget Griezmann, Ozil, and buy players that aren't in the Champions League.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks for calling, Kieran, and have a good New Year.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers, pal. It's going to be very interesting, obviously. You know, we're not going anywhere, and you know, we've been doing this for 3-4 years now, and you know, we've not won a title. We've had Moyes, we've had Van Gaal, we've got Mourinho. We're not going anywhere, and I think that's what being real fans is all about. You know, you get passionate when things aren't going well. You get passionate when things are going well, because it does matter. Would you give Mata a new contract, says Toby Agudu. Thanks for the contribution. I tell you what, I'm going to be totally honest. I love Juan Mata. I think he's a model professional, and I think he played really well against Leicester, but I wasn't so impressed against Burnley. And actually, you need Juan Mata to be probably better than what he is. Would I keep him? I think, you know what, I wouldn't disagree with somebody who said, let's be ruthless, we need better. I wouldn't disagree with people probably like me who would go, yeah, let's keep Mata, he's a good professional to have. Shouldn't be in the first team, bench player. That's what I would say. So I was thinking when Rodney was talking about it, it's very difficult with Manchester United, because it's like, you know, we're not managers. Well, maybe somebody is watching who's a manager, but we've all got ideas of what we would do. And I think the most relevant question would be, and maybe think about this, is if you were the Manchester United manager now, what would you do to close that gap? Because Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, they don't matter. They don't matter. They can all be dealt with. But Man City, winning again at half-time at Newcastle, of course, they were going to do that. He's also got an open checkbook, as I keep mentioning. They're only going to improve and improve and improve. How do you stop that? So you start day one tomorrow. How do you stop that? What do you do? It's not FIFA. You know, you can't go into Ed Woodward and say, sign me 10 players and sell 15. That's not going to happen. What do you do? And I think the first step for me, if I went in tomorrow, would be Darmian, Blind and Fellaini go. That will free up a good bit of money on the wages, but also bring a bit of money in for Darmian and Blind. Obviously not Fellaini, because his contract's been run down. And then I would be looking at, I personally would go against what Kieran said there. I personally think, look, we do need 5 or 6 players, but the most, you know, Sir Alex Ferguson was a master at it, and I would hope I would be as a manager, and I would hope all you would be. I would go, look, you know what? Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, Valencia, Ashley Young, Herrera, you know, ideally I'd get rid of them all and get a lot better. Not that they're bad players, but I would be looking at that. But actually, those sort of players, they're ingrained in the way the club plays. I can get, with the right management style, I can get more out of them. So I'll keep all of them lot, and I will just hope that they can do me a good job. And what I'll do with the transfer budget is I will go and buy Antoine Griezmann. I will go and fill that number 7 shirt. I will go and excite the fans, and I will solve that number 10 problem. And I'll get Griezmann in, and I would go and get a winger in as well. And maybe I'd get that Malcolm from Monaco. I'd be looking at somebody who can put a bloody cross in the box. And yes, it'd be a massive risk, and it would mean not clearing a lot of players out and only bringing 2 in. But the first thing I would be looking at is get that number 10 position pinned down. You know, you get a proper number 10 in, and you see the difference between United and creating the chances. And Griezmann would be a risk because he's a bit of a lightweight, but I'd just do it. I would go for him, and I'd get a winger in because, as Sophie I think said in the live comments, and I've said it numerous times myself, you start putting crosses into the box with the size of the team we've got down the spine, whether it's corners or whatever. We'll start scoring. We have another string to our bow. That's what I would do. And yes, I agree. We still need a lot more players, but I'd sort of stick. I'd go with it. I'd go for that. And but yeah, you've got to have a plan. You can't just criticise the manager and then not think, how do you solve this problem? Because it's not an easy problem to solve by a very, very long way. Malcolm from Monaco. Bordeaux is what I meant, sorry. Premier League is too tough for Griezmann, says Snaps. Well, we'll see. But what I must say as well is that the Van Dijk deal obviously means that Coutinho is leaving Liverpool. They do not have the money to spend £75 million on a centre-back. They just don't have that sort of money, and their owners are not those sort of owners. So there is no way they're just going to spend £75 million on Van Dijk and not sell anybody. Coutinho will be going to Barcelona in January, 100%. So they're spending that money a little bit early, which actually is a very good idea. If you know you're selling somebody, you do get business done a bit sooner. So yeah, that will happen. Anyway, I've absolutely loved the show, Leon. It's been absolutely fantastic, and you know, we've all got our own ideas. We will be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock doing a show, but I'm not finished. I don't even know why I'm saying that, because I'm not finished yet. Let me just have a quick look. Smash the like button. Fantastic show tonight. Some really good calls and lots of good comments on the live comments as well. We've had a few people on the super chats. Matthew, we did. Andy Whitehead made a contribution. Thank you, Andy. Jared Pesserman, who was on earlier, he says, couldn't agree more. Need to build a world-class team. And Connie N, we did that one. And Toby Aguda, we did that one as well. So we did do all of those, which is great. Look, we're back on it now. Christmas is done. New Year's to come. But Manchester United is what we're all about. And, you know, we can all ignore it for a couple of days and enjoy the festivities, but we're back on it now, and Manchester United need to be back on it. I back Mourinho. You know what? Maybe I'll be proved wrong. I don't ever say I'm always right, but I think Mourinho can turn it round. I think he needs the funds to do it, and as laughable as it is that Liverpool have spent that money, I think it's just another reason that United need to go out and spend some money themselves, and I really, really hope that they do. Anavan says it's great to be back with the United stand after a short Christmas break. Yeah, we will be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Obviously we'll go live if there's any transfer news at all tomorrow, but I don't expect there will be. So live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Watch along's back on Saturday night, which is the Southampton game, and New Year's Day on Monday against Everton away. So a good couple of games. And the thing is, I did say this as well. That draw yesterday just pulls us back into the battle for the top 4. You know, Chelsea are right behind us now. Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs won't be that far off us either. And if we don't start winning games soon, starting with Southampton at the weekend, then we are going to get pulled in. And that's going to be a battle because you can go, once the gap's closed between 2nd and 3rd, you could go from 3rd to 6th very, very, very quickly. And we do need to sort that out sooner rather than later. Thanks everyone for watching. do drop a like on the video. Love the Skype shows where you all call in. We've got loads, and we were doing it once a week, but in the new year we're going to start doing it twice a week. So there's a little bit of an Easter egg for you, a little bit of a spoiler. We will be doing it twice a week because I love the Skype ins. It's Skype Goldbridge, all one word, for people who want to do that in the future. Subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner, get involved, lots to get involved with, fantastic community on the United Stand. If you're all off, if some of you are still off till New Year, fantastic. If some of you are back at work, don't worry, it's only a couple of days, isn't it, till the weekend. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching.